And good evening and welcome to Love and Stuff. We are glad that you are here and hoping that you will click share and tag some folks to join us in our discussion. I am Marcus Holmes. Oh, I think I am not supposed to be on one. Okay, all right, fantastic. Okay, fantastic. We are streaming on a couple of platforms and I hope that it has updated our event titles. I'm seeing some different titles there. But I am excited nonetheless, so I think we're good. Okay, looks like we are. All right, very good. We're live on all of, just wanted to make sure we're live on all of our social media channels. Those of you that are watching on Facebook, those of you that are watching on YouTube or Twitch TV, we almost went live on LinkedIn. So thank you all for joining us. Let's just catch up with who has joined us so far. Thank you so much. Just tracking with those folks that have joined us live with us. Corey Reed and Lewis have joined us along with others. I'm not seeing all of your names. And those of you that are on the Love and Stuff page, I'm tracking with you. Those of you that are joining on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us on YouTube. We're trying to build that audience as well. And so I appreciate that so very much. We are just clicking share, and I hope that you will do the same thing and tag a few folks to join us in the discussion here on Love and Stuff. All right, we got a few folks on the Love and Stuff page. And I hope everybody will take a moment and click share and share it with some folks right now. I'm going to be sharing it to some folks clicking on share right now. And I hope that you will click share right now as well, just to have some folks join us in the discussion. All right. And we'll get into the topic in a moment. Thank you for those of you that are here and are clicking share with folks joining us on these platforms. Thank you so much. Love and Stuff is a wonderful community. That could only be a wonderful community with you. So I'm share with all those people I know. All right, okay. Thank you so much. I did that. All right, let's see. Okay. All right. All right, Jay Jared, our senior associate, I'm gonna need you to share with our Love and Stuff groups. Okay, so I'm gonna go right into the topic. Thank you for joining. Those of you that are coming in, just drop a hello as you come in. That would be great and wonderful. Whichever platform you are on, just so that we know that we are tracking with you on these platforms. Corey Reed has joined us. Thank you for saying hello. Thank you, Ann, both of you saying hello. And I hope that you will just join us on this platform. Fantastic. That's what I'm gonna do. All right, thank you so much. Linda Moraney has joined us. Thank you so much. And we're going to get into the topic. Christina Smith, business owner, solo serialpreneur with all of those multiple businesses. We're going to have you on one of these platforms to talk about your success in these credit repair and notary, public, and everything that you're doing. And our prayers are with you in the passing of your aunt, I believe it was. And so continuing to keep you in prayer. Okay, so we got some folks joining us on various platforms, and I hope that you will click share and tag someone to join us in the discussion. All right, and I'm going to, let's see, I've got one person that's already willing to come in and have this discussion, which I think is an important discussion to have. I hope that you will join in this discussion with us. It is I think, a pretty important topic that people are having some discussion about. And so I wanted to bring this from the inbox and also bring someone who's experienced something very similar to this situation on live with us. So in a moment, I believe that he will be joining us shortly, and I'm going to just make sure he is ready to join us. And I hope that while we're doing that, that you will click share, tag someone to join us in the discussion. Of course, I've got on my Love and Stuff t-shirt that you can get on the Love and Stuff page. There are a few new products and items there, and I hope that you will take a look at some of them and that you will support our efforts. 25% of the net proceeds go toward charity. And so we would hope that you would just join us in that effort. All right. So I'm going to, all right. Thank you. Those of you that are, I'm just trying to check in with a couple of different platforms. I hope you don't mind that because you're on various platforms. And one day there will be a producer who will do all that. But today, that's a producer of one, but I have a senior associate producer and an associate producer, but you know how that can go. So I'm excited nonetheless to be able to be here with you each time. All right. All right, let's see if we can get our guest in. Okay, cool beans. All right, and if you'd be interested in being in a future discussion that we intend to have on this presidential election, I know there's a lot of talk right now about Joe Biden, Vice President Biden's candidate of choice. And so I'd love to have some more discussion with you as to how that might impact how you're voting. It certainly is not impacting how I'm voting, but you know, I understand anybody who it is impacting how you're voting. So, all right, I'm going to get into the topic as I hope on the count of three that you're going to click share, tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join us in the discussion. 3, 2, 1. Right now, click share and tag some folks to join us as I pull up our topic. And I'm sure our senior associate producer will be joining us shortly, and he will pin the topic for us to have. All right. All right, so here is our topic this evening. And I'm going to be looking out for one of my guests to talk with us about this topic. And I kind of entitled it Indecent Proposal because, you know, it might not be an indecent proposal, but I want to hear from you. My sister is a lesbian and wants to have a child with her wife partner. They asked me to be the donor to her partner. So they're asking for the brother to be the donor to the partner, okay? Okay, at first I thought, cool, but now I'm thinking that since I know them, that it might be awkward. What if I change my mind and become attached? What do we tell this baby about his or her father? My sister understood, but her partner is upset. I told them to go to a sperm bank or find another guy, but my sister's partner feels that this is the best way to give the baby some of our family traits. I'm thinking it's a no. And so I wanted to talk to you, and I've got Kevin Tates joining us, actor, producer, serialpreneur is joining us, who has also been on our dating game segment, if you will remember him from that, because he's had this experience. This is not his inbox to me. But as I was talking to different gentlemen, he was one of the gentlemen who said, hey, I've been in a similar situation. So I wanted to talk to him about this proposal. And so I'm gonna click to start his video as well. And while he is coming, I'm hoping that you are clicking share and tagging some folks to join us in the discussion. And there he is. I called you serialpreneur, actor, writer, producer. You still connecting to your audio?
Hello?
Yep, got you now.
Hey.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, sir. How you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself, man?
I'm doing well. All right. So we are live, of course. And I just called you serialpreneur because you do acting, movies, you do it all. So tell our audience, those that might not remember you from our dating game, tell them all of the different things that you do.
Oh my goodness. Hi everybody. My name is Kevin MSV Tates. I'm a actor slash rapper slash writer, filmmaker, director. Oh my God. And Uber driver. No, we we kind of got to do a little bit of everything, and I'm an artist, so I like to create. That's
Okay. Fantastic, and thank you for being here.
no
As I was telling our Love and Stuff community, as I was pulling this topic from the inbox, I started to ask a few of the gentlemen about what I consider, some might consider it an indecent proposal, but some will just consider it a proposal, and you've had a similar situation. So I read the topic. Tell us a little bit about the situation, or maybe I will read it one more time and then you can tell us about what happened to you. And again, this is not Kevin Tate's specific topic, but he had a similar situation to this topic. So let me go back and pick it up. From the inbox, again, this is from the inbox. He says, my sister is a lesbian and wants to have a child with her wife partner. They asked me to be the donor to her partner. At first I thought cool, but now I'm thinking that since I know them, that it might be awkward. What if I change my mind and become attached? What do we tell this baby about his or her father? My sister understands, but her partner is upset. I told them to go to a sperm bank or find another guy, but my sister's partner feels that this is the best way to give the baby some of our family traits. I'm thinking it's a no. So you've had a similar situation where you
yeah.
were asked by a couple to be the father of the baby. So when you were first asked, what was your thinking? How
When
did
I
you
was
respond?
when I was first asked, you get that, threesome, yay, thought, but no, but no. What it was they were neighbors, they were friends, they were really cool people, and
Mhm,
we hung out all the time. And when they propositioned me, it caught me off guard. I had two young kids at the time, like a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old,
mhm,
and I couldn't really fathom having a child that wasn't mine.
mhm,
So and when I asked, well, you know what, well, when do I, we gonna take turns with the baby, whatever, and they was like, no, you get to be uncle, and you could see the baby, but the baby will never really know that you're his father, and I couldn't. That was the deal breaker for me, you know.
and to clarify, were they asking you to do artificial insemination or the old way?
They was going to go the old fashioned way. It was
Mhm,
going to go the old fashioned route, and
yeah,
we from the hood. Cats ain't really have artificial insemination money.
yeah. That's what I was thinking. But I thought I would make sure I clarify that because, of course, you probably know that when you do it the old way, really the law says that no matter what, you would still be the legal father when you do it the old way. So if you do it through intercourse, you're the legal father without regard to any written agreement that you all might have. So you would have still been the father in the eyes of the law.
When child support is concerned, no, but it's like I say, like what's interesting is what your story is kind of similar in the regards where
Oh, you hit mute. You must have hit it by mistake. Let's see.
yeah, but it's still like it's different strokes for different folks. If you're one of those people who really don't have that nurturing spirit, if you will, and you're not really gonna be there much as a father, then it's a little bit different. But when you couldn't imagine life without your children,
Mhm.
then that's what the thing was. If I had been asked when I didn't have kids, it might have been different. But the fact that I had little kids and I was the sole caregiver for them,
Mhm.
and imagine having another one and just giving it to somebody else.
And so you were on
So that was
board
like
to
my
do it.
determining factor.
You were on board to do it if they would have allowed you to be in the child's life. You were on board to do it.
Yeah, I would have done that, but I wouldn't have done it where I had to be a secret.
Because what did they at all say? What would be explained to the child about who their father is?
Their plan was one of them was going to be the father and one of them was going to be the mother. That was the plan. They had it all figured out. So they ended up going ahead with it with somebody.
So they did find somebody else to do it with.
They did find somebody else, and I think it ended their relationship. Like the girl ended up hooking up with the guy, and they became a family.
Wow.
So it just was a whole situation.
Yeah. And do you think, so you said you had 2 young children at the time, and you don't think if you had children, you might have had a different perspective on it?
I'm sure if I didn't have children, I would have had a different perspective on it, because I had, because I would have wanted a child, and I wouldn't have thought of it in the way that I was at that time, because when I had at that particular time, I had just got divorced and I had my kids. So it was me and my kids. So it was a different type of bond than just a young dude who just out here doing whatever. So I just was at a different space mentally.
And how do you feel in general about, I guess, sperm donors, being a sperm donor? How do you feel in general about that?
I guess, it's too many of them in regards where the women don't want a sperm donor, and there's not enough of them in the regards where women do. You have certain women who are in position who do want to have their own kids and don't want a man involved, and then there's people who want the family and then they just choose the wrong guy. It seems like women choose the wrong guy. They like the guys with all the kids and all the women. Those are the guys who get more women and more kids. So it's really tricky. It's really tricky. I'm not against it, to each his own, but I could never be the guy. I'm trying to claim them kids on taxes. I can't be just giving them away.
We're talking to Kevin Tates, and as you can see, he is quite humorous. Serialpreneur who, as you may have recalled, has been on our dating game before. We got some comments here. Nicole is saying that's selfish of them, and they wanted the traditional way. Would you have thought about doing it? Was part of the lure to do it that it was the traditional way? Would you have thought about artificial insemination if they had the money?
And they were just paying me?
Well,
I guess, that makes it less personal. That makes it less personal, though. You going to a doctor, you going to a lab, you're doing it for probably a fee. If you're talking about artificial insemination, they're going to offer you something.
Yeah, so
these kids, my kids are smart. I'm charging a nice fee.
I don't know exactly how that part works, but from what I read, it costs to list your sperm in the sperm bank. It costs to do the artificial insemination, and the total of those two is about $1,500 on the low end. So it's at least $1,500. Now I'm not sure how the donor factors into that, but for the procedure,
I've heard of people. I've heard of people doing it. I heard that it was a thing. I'm like I said, to each his own in a lot of regards, but I just know personally, it would have to be a situation like you said, where they're in a situation where they can't have kids, and this the only way they can have a baby, and you'll be helping them out. I'm at a different stage in my life now. Those same kids that 1 and 2, they 19 and 20. So
right.
I'm once again at a different stage in life. So
at this point in your life, would you consider it now?
Not without at least getting 3 years on the taxes. No, that's my only stipulation.
At least 3 good years. At least 3 good years on the taxes.
You got to do it 3 years in a row anyway. So at least give me them 3, and we can talk about it, ladies.
And would it matter to you, Kevin, if it were your sister and her partner? Would that matter?
That would be the weird part.
Okay.
That would be the weird part, though, with it being, it goes both ways, though. That would be the weird part with it being your sister, but I'm assuming that they're impregnating the sister's girlfriend or wife.
It would be
Yeah,
illegal to impregnate your sister.
yeah,
So
that's just to be.
yeah,
Now
so
that would be a definite no. But
yes, so
the
it is
girlfriend
mhm,
and you, she's like family to you, and you doing artificial insemination, so
correct,
the baby stays in the family for real.
correct.
I would consider. I would, that's a whole different ball game, you
Yeah,
know.
and
And
and what then is the explanation that you get? Do you ever let the child know that you're really the father versus the uncle?
I would think the child should know. I mean, it makes sense to me. Maybe not as a child to tell
Okay.
them, but maybe
Mhm,
about like 10 years old, or
mhm, mhm.
as they start to ask,
I don't know. You're breaking up a little bit.
because eventually, hello, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you better now. Yep.
I was just saying, eventually the biology, they'll understand that mom didn't make me,
Hmm.
and and wonder what happened. It would
Hmm.
make sense that it'll be somebody close, and that somebody that's going to be there to raise the child also.
Hmm. And do you,
That's a really interesting situation your boy got going on.
yeah, do you think that that would be awkward though? It just seems like to me that would be so awkward. I mean, you're not with your sister, but you're with her
Well,
partner.
but it seems like something on a Jerry Springer episode, that like he slept with his sister's girlfriend and got her pregnant, and now we all one big family. Like it would be more, it would be less awkward because it's planned, and because we know about it. It's not like it was in secrecy or backstabbing. So it could work.
Hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily want to do it with my sister,
Hmm.
but I could understand in the situation if she was, and this was it could be a good Samaritan type of thing to do.
Okay. And what if you didn't know the individuals and there was money involved? So they wanted to pay you to do it. Does that sweeten the deal?
Considering I'm trying to save up to move to California, I'm just saying, if I meet one of them Kardashians and they make me that deal,
Mhm.
I'm just,
Yeah. Because I was
I
thinking
mean,
as I was,
added, like I said, once again, at a different stage in life, though.
yeah. And I was thinking as I was reading it, there are brothers who could make this a hustle, right? If they're, pretty good, aren't shooting blanks to that degree, they could kind of make it a hustle for couples
Right.
that, want to have children or, same-sex couples or whomever that might want to have children. Is that something that you
Yeah.
think that you could do multiple times?
Multiple times. Oh man, it end up like one of those doctors on the show that got 75 kids because he kept switching all the
Well,
samples,
maybe
but he
not 75, Kevin, but let's say that one couple, one couple meets you and it works out well, and they introduce you to
and they
another
tell another
couple,
couple,
and they
oh
introduce you to
wow.
another couple. Is that something that you could do more than once?
And if the money right, that changes everything. When the money being right, that kind of makes you loosen your morals, if
Mhm,
you will.
mhm.
So
And so
I
then
got
does that become an indecent proposal? Is it still decent if money is involved?
I I don't know. See, it's not as indecent because we're talking about in vitro. The indecentness to that proposal was the fact that it wasn't about a baby or anything. It was about this sexual act with your
Mhm,
wife. Like, it
mhm,
was really a slap in the face.
mhm,
Somebody coming to me with that type of proposal, that I wouldn't accept though. Like, how you can't pay me to sleep with her. You kind of would have to pay her to sleep with her. In which
mhm,
case, I don't need her anyway, because
mhm,
it's just that's where you get into the crazy stuff. But with this, really just trying to help with it, you can look at it like you're doing a good thing. It's not like such a bad or disrespectful thing. You actually helping out a couple. So you can kind of spin it in your own head.
mhm.
I think mine was just different because of where I was at the time with the two little kids at the time, and basically being mom and dad.
Mhm,
You can't imagine ever letting a kid go. Now they get older, you learn how to let go.
mhm,
So
mhm. And you said your children are now adults though, right?
basically,
Yeah,
yeah, 8, 19,
yeah,
20.
yeah. Even though,
They just think they grown.
yeah, that's what I was just about to say. We try to let them think that they're grown. They're really just growing. That's what I tell them. You're not grown, you're growing. So would you have any feelings, feel any kind of way? You're making a baby, but it's not around love. Like, so for you, you were married, then you got divorced. So you had these children out of a love relationship, out of a covenant. Now you're making a baby and there is no love, is not the nexus. Does that bother you? Would that bother you at all?
Yeah, in ways, once in ways it would, because you don't really want to do that. But if you go in with if you go into the doctor, it's so not personal. It's so outside of the norm. It's not the same thing. You really just went into the room
Mhm,
and you just put a sample in a cup, and that's it. You walked away.
mhm,
So it's not as intimate as being with somebody that you care about or don't care about
mhm,
and regret,
mhm,
So it would be different the old fashioned way,
mhm.
like go into the room and make a baby with my wife so we can have a family. That'd be uncomfortable.
Got it.
But going to the doctor's office makes it more comfortable.
Got it. And so Christina Smith, and Christina, I'm about to send you the link because I want you to join Kevin. Christina's asking, she's putting you on the spot. Is Kevin single? She said.
Oh,
Wait, what's what,
it's weird. It's complicated. Can Kevin be complicated? I'll
what
be
is?
complicated.
Let me ask you this. What does that mean? Complicated means you can't really say you're single because you're not really, but you kind of. So, I mean, what does that mean?
Well, it's like I am single, but I'm not really. It's not.
Um,
It's not the other way around. Like how you just said, like you not single, but you kind of single. It's like
mhm,
I'm single, but I'm kind of not. It's the
okay.
other way around. It's
Okay.
weird. That's why it's complicated.
So is it like single and
A week or
exclusive, but
two
not
ago, I
really
was super.
exclusive?
A week or two ago, I was super single, and then last week it got complicated.
Oh, okay.
But technically I'm single. I don't really go out a lot, do a lot of things. I've kind of been focusing, well, since the pandemic, I kind of just been going crazy, but focusing on what we got going on finishing up this movie somehow, God willing, and getting the rest of them out of the way. So I
Mhm.
haven't really been dating. I haven't been dating at all.
Okay. So, but you can now, if you haven't been dating, I'm delving all into stuff. If you haven't been dating, how are you kind of single?
I mean, I'm definitely single. I'm just kind of
Okay.
not. So,
Okay.
because it's always there's always that person that that you go that you have that connection with, and that you have that relationship with, that you may not be with, but you care about.
Got it. Got it. It's kind of that maintenance relationship. Do you call it that?
I'm sure everybody out there knows.
Do you call it
I
like
wouldn't call it
a
that.
maintenance
It's
relationship?
like no, like
I, I don't mean like
that's demeaning it, if you will. It's like,
I, no. Maybe I used the wrong
I mean, you
word.
got your comfort zone. You got
I used the wrong word then. It's a companionship relationship. When I said
yes.
maintenance, I didn't mean to go get a tune up. I didn't mean it like that. When I was saying maintenance, I meant you have someone that you can maintain closeness with and intimacy, but not the commitment of intimacy.
Kind of make it like you could. Well, I have someone I can maintain closeness with, and sometimes be intimate.
Okay, so I brought Christina
But the
in just
closeness is important.
okay. I brought
I'm
Christina
listening.
in to just to add to it since you put you both out there. But Christina, I want to ask this question um, because you have three children, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, 3 beautiful children. And
You.
could you be a surrogate for somebody, for maybe for 2 men that can't have children, but one of them wanted to artificially inseminate you to carry the baby? It's your eggs, his semen. I think I can say that on Facebook without getting banned. And so they're asking for you to carry it.
Good question.
I'm gonna agree with Kevin. Like, it depends on.
So now that you've had your 3 children and they're all, I mean, how old is Tony Jr.? He's how old?
13.
Okay,
so I
so
have 13, 17.
he got a little way to go, but the other 2 are growing,
Yeah.
not really grown, because you're not grown till you're 30. I said that for my niece to hear.
Yeah, I think for me, it would be, I'm going to say the deal breaker. The deal breaker would be that, like Kevin said, like, you wouldn't know, like, am I supposed to still be mom? Am I still the mother? I mean, I'm not the caring, the one that takes care of it. But am I going to be in the child's life? Because it's a little bit different with a woman, because I'm bearing the child and now I can't see the child anymore. But, Michael Jackson did it with the nurse lady, and they knew each other. She was part of the family friend. She was a doctor lady, and she did it, and it was fine, and she got paid. But then she came back.
But was she artificially inseminated?
I believe so, because he did it 3 times.
Well, I don't know what the "did it" means. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, I think it was the artificial, because she I don't think she agreed on the sexual, this intercourse part. But I do believe that but once again, to that point, she came back and was like, these are my children. At one point they agreed to leave her out of it. Remember, and she came back. So to me, like, I 9 months of caring for and nurturing a baby in my body, that's hard to say bye-bye. Maybe, again, to Kevin's point, if I was a woman that just wanted to make money and didn't care about really too much having children, I'm not a kid person. There's women that aren't kid people, maybe. But I am, like, I'm diehard for my children. So if I 9 months, I have a baby, I give it away, fee or no fee, that's pretty hard for me.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Kevin, because he had already had children. You already have children. Do you think your thoughts would be the same if you had no children?
My thoughts would be the same.
Okay.
Because when I first had my first child, I was like mom mode immediately. I was already a mother when I found out I had, became pregnant with a child. So I said, well, I got to do this. I got to do that. As a mom, I got to change that. I can't do this anymore. So my whole hormonal, psychological mindset changed into mother mode. And I hadn't even had the child yet. And I didn't even care for the daddy. I'm going to leave that for another hookup. But I'm just saying, so I wasn't attached to the man per se. So that, even if it was the 2 men and they wanted me to do it, I would be like, okay, that's you guys. And I'm not attached to that. I'm attached to the child.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't matter either way it goes.
Okay. And do you think it's awkward to some degree that it would be, so if your brother and his wife couldn't have children, would that be awkward? Or no, that wouldn't work. If your
my brother, if he was gay,
right, and his partner and his partner wanted to be the one that inseminated you, would that be awkward to you?
Yes.
Would it be awkward because it's your brother's lover?
Yes.
Would it be less awkward if you didn't know them?
It would be less awkward, because once again, are we talking traditional or
either?
So now that's awkward that I'm with my brother's guy, and we're traditionally doing this. That wouldn't be right.
Jerry.
And I'm attached. Like, I love her, which could be bad, but I love her. Like, when I love you, period. And so I think, intercourse, they got some feelings. It depends on the people, unless you just hoeing about and you don't care. But I think a lot of times there are feelings attached when you get into bed with somebody. So at some degree, a little or a lot. But I think, yes, if it was my brother and he had a partner, husband, I would probably say no.
You would say no.
No.
And you tell them to go to the eggs. I don't know where they, find a surrogate, right?
Yeah, because I'm the only sister. So they can't ask another sister.
And because you all are such committed parents who love your children, I'm again asking while I have you both on camera, what do you think about having children outside of that love relationship? What do you think about that? Because this makes it more clinical, more transactional. What do you think about that as an option for people? How do you feel about people having these children and it's just clinical?
I definitely think it's a difficult situation when you basically have this child in limbo. When you have it, when you got a kid who don't really know where he's from, he don't know who his real mother is or who his real father is or any of that kind of stuff. That's just going to be issues down the line. Even though a lot of kids are adopted and raised and had great lives, they always still want to know who their father was or who their mother was. Never know dancing around that.
Kristen, you want to add anything to that?
I agree. I also want to add that, man, it's a lot of, I'm going to just say, in my world, in my life, there are some women that I know that did have children or a child and didn't want the father in the life. So what they call a donor. So it was either traditional way or not, but they had the child and they told the dads, I don't have nothing to do with you. So I think if we're talking that way, once again, I agree. The child now is going to grow up at age 10, 11, 12, 15 and say, where's my dad? Or what's up with that? So how do you explain that? And then as a mother, I will be honest, but how would you explain that to the child? And you have to be less selfish in that regard to say, well, okay, I'm doing this for my own selfish reasons, but now you got to think about the kid down the line, how the kid's going to feel once they grow up. So I think that's a little selfish to me.
A little selfish. Kind of leaves the kid in
limbo.
Identity crisis of sorts. And so how would you explain to that child, daughter or son, that I was how would you explain that either?
To me, for me, I'm very honest, even with my kids now. Like my son, Christopher, his dad wasn't really in his life. He didn't want to be. And then when he got about 16, he went and found him. He said, I'm sorry, sir, you my dad. Like it or not, too bad. And so I was honest with him and let him take care of it the way he wanted his feeling, wherever that went. But at the end of the day, being supportive of that, whatever his decisions were. But I think, yes, I would just be honest. I say, hey, I was a single woman. I was, busy. I didn't have time for a relationship, but I wanted a child, and here you are. And this is what happened. I think you should just be honest. The child to be more respectful to you, as far as you saying, I was selfish. I think that's just selfish for you to just have a kid and not include the other parent as far as just an identity.
Yeah. And Christina, if you were the donor, would you still want to be able to offer that same explanation as to why you were the donor versus being the actual mother who nurtured and raised that child, reared that child?
But
Would
I
you
mean, I think
that
the
same
donor on the
opportunity?
donor end, legally, you got to sign something, and you.
So
So
let's
I
say,
guess the
for all
agreement.
intents and purposes, there is some agreement that you will not claim rights to the child, right? But that doesn't mean that you won't explain to the child at some future point. It just means you don't have legal rights, right? And so as that child comes of age, whatever that coming of age is, how would you explain to that child that you were just a donor?
That's what I would say. I would say, at the time I was asked, or I was, presented the opportunity, and I was not looking to care for. I was not in a position to be a mother. If that's the case, I wanted to just help someone out. So I guess it depends on the situation. Are you just going and donating, or is I guess somebody's coming to me and saying, "Hey, Christina, would you be a surrogate?" Right. And
Right.
so now at this point, you're no longer the mother legally, it's us and all of that. So if the child comes finds me at age 30 and I'm whatever, and I'll tell them, hey, at that time, I was approached and I made a decision. We talked it out. I know your parents, we're okay. But at that time, I was not in the position to be a mother or a caregiver of a child or whatever. But, I did the right thing for your parents now or whatever. But because I think if you're being honest, that's truly you. Like, I mean, you can't tiptoe around the fact that you did what you did for whatever the reasons are. And they're just gonna have to respect that.
Mm-hmm. And Kevin, what about you? Would you take the same approach or a different approach?
I mean, the honest thing would be mainly the way to go about it. In a lot of situations, though, you wouldn't, as the donor or as the person that's not receiving the child, you kind of going to be out of the loop anyway, unless
Right.
you're in the child's life. If for the most part, if it's a surrogate couple that I never met,
Right.
then I probably wouldn't talk to them ever. So it would have been 10, 15, 20 years that went past. I ain't even heard of these people. But with the brother and the sister situation, you in the family, you helping raise the child. So when it finally does come out, and with a same sex situation, it's gonna be easier, to be honest, because
Now,
he
Marcus.
knows that his two fathers didn't make him, and his two mothers didn't make him.
Right.
So he has a parent somewhere else.
Right.
He has to.
And let me add this before Christina comes back into the comments. So if there was money involved, meaning that you received money to do this, do you disclose that information when that child comes to find you?
No.
I think so.
You would not tell them that you got paid to do
I
it.
would.
I would. I'm sure I would. Like,
I
hey,
mean,
man,
if you're
look,
talking about surrogate, the way these kids are nowadays, they know. And then at some point, like we said, if you fast forward 20, 30 years, they come and find you.
Yes.
And you say, I'm a surrogate. At this point, they 30, 25, 30. They should know there was an exchange of money.
Well, I mean, they might not, they could, but maybe not. But again,
I wouldn't just come out and say, hey, I got $5,000 for you. I wouldn't do that.
Got it. But
it's 10,000 for you, baby. I wouldn't do that. I would just say, it was a transaction. It was an agreement. I agreed to it, and this is what happened. I mean, I think those kind of things, I guess if they ask you, okay, well, how much did they give you? Then you just tell them, they gave me $7,000, or whatever.
So you would be forthcoming with that information if they ask. Because I think it might not be 20, 30 years if it's same sex relationship, as you said, Kevin, they know already, right, that somebody was a mama and somebody was a daddy other than these two. So by the time they're 10, kids are going to ask them, well, how did you get two mommies? Or how did you get two daddies? How did that happen? So someone is going to do some level of explanation, and maybe that child, he or she wants to know, well, where is my other parent who helped to bring me here? And so,
man, that sounds like a really tricky, if that same sex couple got a divorce, who keeping the baby argument. Lord have mercy.
Yeah, I would imagine though, again, if you have a 10-year-old girl or boy and their parents are same sex and they're in public schools or any school, that is going to come up that they have parents of the same sex and that somehow this parent, these parents didn't voila, the storm happened and came. So that 10-year-old is going to ask some important questions. Okay, how did I get here? Where is that person? Is that person also my dad or mom? And can I meet this person? And so, you might have a child coming to ask these questions much sooner than 20 years or 30 years. And I'm just curious, how does that conversation go if the family accommodates that conversation?
Yeah.
Definitely delicately, especially with a child, with a 10, 15-year-old.
Yeah, that's traumatizing.
Yeah, you kind of want to really be as honest as you can. And
I agree
I
with
guess
that. But it's normal,
Marcus.
This is a normal thing out here. I've been in banking for almost 20 some years, and I have seen a woman and her wife, and they have come into the bank, and it's either one, they getting married and they need their something notarized, or they're getting divorced and they need their account changed to get them off, and they're bringing the baby in. And so one time I said, well, okay, well, is this your baby? And yeah. And so one girl told me the couple that came to my office, they were getting a divorce, and then one wanted to get off the account. And the girl said, yeah. I said, well, I was being nosy. I said, well, who's keeping the baby? She said, oh no, we still live together, but we're getting a divorce. So they came out and told me that one of the girl, her ex-boyfriend, was the donor.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I can imagine.
Yes, he found out, she was gay or lesbian or whatever. She married the girl, and they asked him, and he said yes. So this was like one of the woman's ex-boyfriends that did it. And but yeah, so they were fine with it. They were like, oh no, we're still taking care of the baby. The baby's fine. So
yeah, I'm more thinking about the forethought that might go into knowing that down the road you may have to address this transaction that you did that didn't come from love, though it resulted in conception, and whether or not that's something you would think about in advance. Think about that a day may come where that child will come back and learn that they were conceived as a transaction versus conceived out of a love relationship. And how would that inform your thinking ahead of time? And knowing that that's a possibility, would weigh on you whether or not you would do it.
But I mean, if you think about it, I'm about to take a different road, a different route. And I get what you're saying, but I'm saying, like, there are women out here, the kids, unfortunately, don't know their dads. So, and then now you got to talk about, they asking, who is my dad? So it's the same kind of thing in a way. It's a different scenario, but you got kids out here don't know who their dad is, or the mom dropped them off at the grandparents and they gone. So I'm going back to being honest. You just got both sides. Everybody, selfishly, hopefully unselfishly, made this decision. Everybody discussed it. Everybody's on board, and hopefully they're thinking of the child in the future. But if you're not, that's just selfish. That you just doing it for your own enjoyment, or say we got a kid together and same-sex couple, but what about the child? So I don't know if people are even doing that proactively. That's where I'm at. Is it being discussed?
And I'm wondering, is this something that you would be discussing if this were you? And Kevin, is this something that you would be discussing if this were you? When you had the two women approach you and you were thinking about doing it initially?
Mine was more selfish. It wasn't about the kid. It was about me. It was about me not being without my kid. It wasn't even, you just made me think of it from the whole other way around for the first time. Because basically it was always about I wouldn't leave my child. It was never about what would be best for the child, even though because I always consider me being best for the child.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that is a whole nother show, Kevin. I think having your father in your life always best for the child, except that father is in dysfunction.
Hey y'all, I'm stepping into this building. I gotta get out of here.
Okay.
I appreciate you for letting me come on the show.
Thank you so much.
Anytime.
All right. Breaking up, so I think that's a good segue. You all broken up.
Bye. Love you.
Oh, Christina. Christina left us, not him. Oh, Christina. Lost Christina. Okay, we're gonna try to get her back. All right, so we're talking with Kevin Tates and Christina Smith, and hopefully you will join us as well in this discussion about whether or not it is, how would you react to our topic from the inbox? How would you respond? Okay, how would you respond? All right. How would you respond if a lesbian couple, gentlemen, asked you to be the donor, or ladies, a couple asked for you to be the surrogate, supply the eggs? Is that something that you will do? What would you do? From our inbox, that is the topic. And we've got some interesting discussions from Kevin Tate's serialpreneur. I got two serialpreneurs that came to join us. One of them dipped out thinking I was saying goodbye to her. I was saying goodbye to Kevin. There's no business like show business. So, Christina Smith, who is also a serialpreneur. You know, Kevin Tates is a serialpreneur. He's a producer, rapper, actor, screenwriter, movie writer. If there's a difference in those two, I'm not sure. He does all of those things, promotions, all of that. And Christina does credit repair and notary services. And what else do you do, Christina?
I'm a financial advisor. So I advise you financially from A to B, basically the basics of banking and finance, all the way to investing and opening a business. So I'm here for the hood all the way up to corporate.
All right, there you go. And so that's Christina. And she says, hey, you might have to have conversations and some forethought before you decide to conceive a child as a transaction versus out of the expression of love. And I agree to a great extent about that, because for that child, especially if the child is going to be reared in a same-sex relationship, and this is Love and Stuff, so I know there are all types of people in Love and Stuff, and I know that there are Christian people in Love and Stuff saying, what are you talking about in Love and Stuff? But the reality is that there are same-sex couples in the world, and because of change in law, many of them are married.
Yes.
So they want to have a life similar to what heterosexuals have, and they want to have children, but the reality is that they can't in and of themselves children. And so the question then is whether or not supplying the egg, I hope that doesn't sound too harsh to people, supplying the sperm, whether or not, because it's not an expression of a love relationship, it is a transaction, whether there should be some real forethought about that, bringing a child into the world. Eric Lampkins is joining us from Texas. He says, no, and no, my body part stays with my body as a single person and or married. So Eric, I'm sure your body parts have to stay with you. So I want to make sure I follow that. But if you want to come on, I will send you the link and you can come on live with us. I understand that. I think I know what you're saying though. But if you had decided to, would you have thought this child one day will ask, who is my father? Because he will know that two mothers could not produce him. And so what will your response be if he knocks at your door and says, it's under my understanding that you are my father? How did this come to be? What will you share with him? Will you be prepared to say, well, it was a transaction. I was trying to help somebody out. I was being a good Samaritan. I was first. I don't shoot blanks. So I just thought I helped them out. And what might that do to his psyche or identity about his conception not being one out of love, even though he may have been reared in love by these two women. And I know there are people who feel strongly about that. And I don't want to ignore that you feel strongly about that, but I'm thinking more of the child. That child will more likely than not find out before he or she is an adult, because just by the nature of living with two same-sex parents and going to school, other kids are going to say, where's your daddy? Or where's your mommy? No, you're supposed to have a mommy and a daddy. And so how does the conversation go so that we make sure that child understands that your intent was for the greater good? Versus a transaction, because it could feel just like Christina mentioned earlier. There are tons of mothers out here whose children don't know their dads at all. And so they're in a similar situation, similar in that they don't know the identity of the dad, dissimilar in that this is already a different kind of arrangement.
I want to just add to that briefly. And this is going to take you somewhere different, but guess what? Even with that, not knowing your dad and or who your mother biologically is, you know what? We have health things in our life and in our bodies and in our history, medical history. So I know my mother's side has, earlobe issues or whatever, hearing aid stuff. I know my dad has diabetes in his family. When I go to the doctor, and I'm gonna tell you, someone actually brought this up to me. They came into the credit union and they said, Christina, I gotta go for a checkup and I don't know my dad. And she said, you gotta fill out this questionnaire. Does your family have heart disease? Does your family have a cancer, breast cancer history? How do I know? So now I'm 20 years old. I got to go to mom and my other mom and say, did my dad, whoever this mystery person is, transaction or not, do you know what kind of health history this is that his mother or his father, or why am I getting thin up here? Did my dad, how do I know? So it's not just, and even an identity. A lot of people, they say, well, I know my mom and I know that's her wife, or my dad and that's his husband. What is my true identity? And people, they want to know, like, I wonder what my mother's mother was like. I wonder if I had my mom in my life, now that I know that I was a transaction or I was out of love or whatever. What is it? So I kind of go back to the guy in the inbox. It could be a good service to the child to have all three, because now, like they were saying, and I kind of felt when you were reading it that the sister had that in mind to say, keep that in the family, because now it's all we know. I know what is going on with my brother versus a stranger or just some donor guy.
Right.
Transaction. Right. She knows the family history, the health history, the background, the psyche, the mental states, whatever it is in the family. So she's probably trying to go that route and say, well, I know that if we bring my brother in, it would be a better service to the child to know their family history. I get that in a way. But now you say it's a transaction at the sperm donor place. Now this child's going to grow up at 10, 20, and 30 and 50 and not know both sides of the history of their family, even medically. So that can be something that you want to think about going into that kind of those transactions.
Yes, thank you for that. And Eric Lampkin is joining us from Texas. I wanted to go right to your comment that you said, tell him the truth. And so talk to me about that. And I'm sure this would not be you. I'm going to put that out there. Okay. You would not be the donor, but let's just hypothetically say that you are the donor and this child comes to you at age 10 and says to you, hi, I'm your child. And what do you say to that child about the way that that child was born?
So, it would, for me, being a believer or Christian or what have you, that poses a conversation. If I have been promiscuous or very promiscuous, then that's a conversation. Well, let me back up. It would depend on where I am in my time of life. If I'm married, am I single? Am I still running the streets? Or if I'm not, it's prayerfully, if they're coming to me in this particular stage of my life now, then that means you have to sit down and have a conversation, or you should be mature. I'm not going to say that they are mature. I'm going to say hopefully that person should be mature to be able to have the conversation. As Miss Christina was saying earlier, there are many people that don't know their parents, you know, and so you have to move from that particular standpoint and move on. And prayerfully, you can say some kind of words of encouragement and conversation, and then that's going to depend on the child. Are they receptive to hear what you're saying? Are they not receptive to hear what you're saying? Again, those subjects, or that the way it's being put, as you were saying, it depends on the maturity on both the parent or parents, individuals, as well as the child who's running to do the knocking. I know for sure, where I'm concerned, I wanted to know who my actual biological father was, even though I was raised with a great father. He took care of me since birth or what have you, but I still wanted to know who my birth father was, set out to go see them, wasn't able to find him. He had passed, I think about 3 or 4 years prior to me meeting, but I gained another family. But all of that came from just maturity in the household that I lived in under the mom and dad roof. Nothing against mom or dad for that matter, but just how I was raised. So in the event,
let me double back though a little bit.
We doubling back. Come on.
Yeah, to the question, because what I'm trying to find out is when you talk to that son who knocks at your door, let's say he's a teen or preteen, and he's knocking at your door, do you say tell him the truth? Do you tell him that it was a transaction, that it was not him born out of a love relationship? Do you tell him that?
Again, and I was saying it earlier, it depends on where the maturity is for both people.
I'm asking you, what would you do?
Well, I'm not me. Again, we said I'm not having that issue because I'm not giving my body, and not body, I'm saying I'm not giving my sperm to anyone in that area. However, let's say it this way.
And that's what I was asking.
No. However, since, you know, we're speaking
specifically.
Right.
I was asking you to put yourself in the situation, and it sounds like you don't want to put yourself in the situation.
No, you're not letting me finish. Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate that. Thank you. What I'm saying to you, because I was promiscuous before, if someone comes up and say, hey, Eric, you know, by the way, this child happens to be yours, then that means now I have to be mature enough and own the fact that I was promiscuous before I got married. So now I have to have a conversation. In having the conversation, it's still going to depend on one, i.e. the individual, me, since I'm mature, I don't have a problem having that conversation, but me to the child, I have to be able to, as I said in the text, be honest and tell the truth according to the level of that child or teenager's wisdom and understanding. So you're going to have to, or you should, carefully tiptoe to gain some understanding and wisdom on how to deal with that particular person's situation, and or that mom or that dad or whoever is raising that child. Is that something that the conversation can further be done or further be made? You understand what I'm saying?
Got it. Thank you. Nicole, how are you tonight?
I'm good tonight. How are you, Marcus?
Good. So I'm going to kind of flip it because you're like Christina. If you were a surrogate, and again, it's hypothesizing, if you were a surrogate for a same-sex couple, you were a surrogate for them, and that child came back to you and at some future point asking you, wanted to know questions, would you share the truth of the transaction with that child? How would you have that discussion? I lost you, Nicole. I don't see your face anymore.
Right.
You still with
When
me?
or just, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I can't see.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I hear you. I do. Oh, no, I don't have you anymore. So we lost Nicole. So Christina, I'm going to double back to you because that forethought is what I want to go back to. The forethought that you would have, just to clarify for our viewers, this isn't a situation where someone was out there and promiscuous with a lot of different folks. This was a situation where a person got into a situation with one person and decided to be a donor for that person. So there isn't even sexual intercourse between these two people. This is artificial insemination. So this was artificial insemination, and that child comes back to talk to you at some future point. That conversation that you're going to have with that child, you're going to tell them the truth of that transaction, that, hey, this was something that occurred in which I thought I was being a good Samaritan or doing something good. What impacts do you think that might have on that child?
The first thing to my mind is clarity. Because now they feel a little more clear about what happened. Because like you said, they're like, oh my goodness, it's two women. I know that didn't, or two guys. At some point, these kids are intelligent. I'm telling you. In today's world, they so much, not that we weren't, but they're so advanced because of the technology and the ingenuities and all these different things. Can you hear me? I think it just stopped. You hear? Nope. Okay. Because you had paused. Okay. But I'm saying you gotta, into the young man, what was his name? Eric. To his point, there is a maturity there. And so you do play on, okay, well, is this child gonna handle what I'm saying? Take it well. So I don't want to say tiptoe, but you're gonna say, well, this is what happened with me. You know, kind of explain yourself, because a lot of people, they want to hear what you got to say. You know, they don't want to say, well, this is what they did and I did it because of them and this is what happened. Like, why did you do that? What led you to that? And so is this child going to be able to handle at whatever stage they are in, preteen or not, the fact that, yes, okay, I did it. It was a transaction. I was approached and this is what happened. Now, yes, I was doing it to help someone out, like you said, or I was doing it because I thought it was the right thing to do, or whatever it was. But you have to own up to that decision you made. And I think people will respect you more, even that child, because kids know when you lying or not, and your spirit or not, and they're gonna say, okay, I get it. And but do you love me? Like, do you still want to be in my life? And then at that point, you start making a decision to move forward or not, to create a relationship or not, based on that conversation. Because at that point, the child coming to find you, I don't know if, because as a mother, I would still be like, man, I wonder how that baby's doing or whatever. But if you're just out here, like I said, and you're not really interested in kids and you just wanted to do it to help somebody out, no big deal, you might not have more of an attachment to having a future or a continuance of that relationship, because you're saying, well, I just did it to help somebody out. I'm not really your mom. I just donated. That's your mom. Because I've seen that when people say, I don't want to be the mother. Just don't tell them. Don't have them find me. But then the kid finds them. Now you got to explain. Well, I'm not the motherly type. I didn't want to have children.
So that's the question that I wanted to ask.
They should be given.
That's the question that I wanted to ask you. If you decided to be a surrogate, would you be thinking about that child ahead of time, that at some point in the future, that child may come back and want to know your identity, want to know why you're a surrogate? Would that be in your forethought when you're making?
But that's what I was saying earlier. And see, I'm saying I would never be in the situation. Excuse me, anybody that's listening or whatever.
I got all of y'all saying that.
Christina R. Smith. Never.
I got all of y'all saying that, and I know when I need.
I'm saying.
And I'm gonna say,
I know when I need a hypothetical.
Hockey stick. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I know when I need a hypothetical, not to get. I got it.
No, you can't do that. That ain't true. Go ahead, Christy. That ain't true. No, we're answering the question.
But I'm saying, if you decide, if you
hold on, Christina. Hold on, Christina. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to Nicole. Thank you so much. So Nicole, what I'm asking you is, if you had decided to do this, would you be thinking about, when you're deciding it, what the impact will be to the child?
Right. Absolutely, I would. It's ridiculous to not think about it, because trust me, there are going to be repercussions from this whole situation. And I'm speaking from a place because I was not raised in a home with my father. So when I found out that he was out there and I met him, I had a gazillion questions of why, where were you? Why weren't you here? What happened between you and my mother? You know what I'm saying? And it goes on a different level, but I'm not going to bring that other side up. But no, I think people are ridiculous. These children are so smart, man.
That's what I said. They know more than we do.
No stuff. So you have to think about the future. You have to think about I'm gonna get a knock on the door in 18, 19, 20 years. What am I gonna say? What is the conversation gonna say? What is it gonna go like? So you have to think like that. And for people to say, "Oh, I don't want to be the mother," then don't donate. Just stay out of the picture. Because if you had an attitude from jump, and then the child approaches you, that's not gonna go well. I'm sorry.
Well, a lot of people are selfish.
And how do you think that will impact? Yeah. How do you think that will impact the psyche of the child, learning that
it's gonna negatively
a transaction versus out of love?
It's gonna negatively impact them. It's gonna be a negative impact. I don't care what nobody say. It's going to be a negative impact. And what's going to happen is it's going to depend on how that child decides to handle it. You know what I'm saying? If they're mature enough to handle it in a positive, turn it around and think about it a different way, or it's going to be a negative go down for them.
Preaching, Nicole.
And we're talking about because we're talking about a same-sex relationship. A 10-year-old child is probably not going to be mature, but a 10-year-old child grade is going to have other classmates who are going to say, "Hey, you got two daddies," or "You got two mommies." So they're going to be asking those questions to understand. So it won't be based on, a maturity level when they're knocking on your door because they won't be mature enough to hear those answers. So
Right.
that's why I was asking the question. It's
Exactly.
really not how you get
Right.
to the maturity level of a child that you've never met who's knocking on your door.
Right.
It is a child is looking for
Right.
answers because they're not going to wait until 30
Right.
when they have same-sex parents and they're in a society where people
Right.
are asking them, how did
Nope.
you get two mommies or two daddies? They're looking to see what their
Yeah.
identity is. They're not even, to Christina's point, wondering, is there diabetes in my family? Is there sickle cell anemia? They're not even at that point at age.
Oh man.
They're just
Yeah.
trying to understand.
Marcus.
identity. And
Yeah.
so that's why I was
Right.
asking the
But
question.
that's a big thing though.
Yeah. Yeah. It
That's
wouldn't
a
be
big
based
thing,
on-
that medical, that history.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I go to the doctor and they're asking me, I had to call my father and ask him about him and his mother.
Yes.
What was the history? And I felt so ridiculous doing that.
Yeah.
But I had no choice. You know what I'm saying?
You have to do it. Yep.
So,
Like I said, the lady
yeah.
that came to my bank, she was like, I don't know what to do. I have no idea who my dad is. I don't know if he got diabetes. I don't know if he alive. I don't know anything. So for her to fill out or him to fill out the survey was tough.
Yeah.
That's not
I mean,
fair.
total-
I don't think
Yeah.
it's fair.
I'm in agreement with you.
It's not.
But we were
It's
saying
not.
earlier, Christine, Marcus, and I love all the different variables that you put in there. Those are very good. But the one variable that I really appreciate is it really depends on two different subjects. The parent or the sperm donor or whomever that is given, it depends on his maturity level to,
Yes.
does he want to tell, or does he want to
Yeah.
share how he
Mhm.
was promiscuous out there running the street
When you
at
say
whatever the
promiscuous
young
running the
child's age is, and or
Eric, when you say promiscuous running the street, the
I
topic,
mean, I'm sorry. Okay, sperm donor. Okay,
Yeah,
just
it sounds like for you, a sperm donor equals promiscuity. Is that?
no. Man, listen here. Don't be running no. You heard what I said. I didn't say that. I know we old friends, so don't be going there with I mean what I say and I say what I mean. So let me give you the clarification again.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. I'm saying, as you're saying with the young child, if he's knocking on the door, okay, then you have an opportunity depending on the person's maturity level. Are they going to
doubling back to the point?
No, don't be doubling back. I know, I got you.
Hold on, Eric. I was doubling back to the point where I was saying, when you kept bringing up promiscuity, I'm just trying to.
Oh man, you know what I'm talking about. My goodness.
Let me finish the phrase. How is that factoring in? Because maybe there's something that I said that unlocked something that made you think about promiscuity, and I'm just trying to explore it.
No,
So
there's nothing to unlock. But what I'm saying, there's nothing to unlock. So
okay.
Stop
in
it.
this situation,
This is good. This is good.
I don't want.
I love this. This is, but me and him, we haven't seen each other in a while, so by Zoom is the closest way. So it just brings out the best in him. But what I'm saying is, if that person,
point, though, Eric, hold on one second.
If the person
Eric,
knocks on the
Eric, back to the point.
I'm back to the point. I'm answering the question.
I'm sorry, I moved on from that because I think your response to that was you weren't going. The promiscuity wasn't unlocked or related to anything. It just something that you mentioned. I think that's what you were telling me. Is that a fair statement?
We moved on, as you said.
Let me show you where we're going so that you can come with us.
Beautiful. Show me where you're going, sir, so I can be right there with you. Don't want to be left out.
No, I don't want you to be left out.
Praise the Lord.
We back in 1991.
Really?
So if we can go backwards somewhat, if we can go backwards. Because the topic that comes from the inbox is really about a sperm donor who is related to one of the people in the couple.
Mm-hmm.
And the sister who is in the couple wanting to keep it close to the family so that they will know these family traits that might come up or issues that might come up. Does it matter, and I've asked Christina this, but I'm asking the other two of you, would it matter if you were in the situation? Would it matter if you knew the parties? Would it be more awkward if it was, for instance, Nicole, it was your two brothers. You had two brother. A brother, and he had a lover. Would that be more?
He better not even ask. I'm not putting the child. I am not going to put a child in that position. I'm going to be responsible for everything going forward that happens to that child. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I can't do
No,
it.
awkward.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very awkward.
Okay.
Then is it a traditional version, or are we doing the
Right. That's what I said.
So
Nicole.
what you
I
missed-
said
I'm not gonna
traditional because now I'm with my brother's man. Like,
Yeah,
my brother's friend?
earlier, that's what Kevin was saying. When Kevin was on earlier, he was saying when he was propositioned, it was a traditional versus artificial insemination. He was propositioned for some traditional.
No, absolutely not.
If it wasn't traditional and it was
No, because if I get involved, it's gonna be me and the friend together then.
right.
And my brother gonna have to walk away.
and
We together now.
yeah, and so in in Kevin's situation, the couple lived next door to him, and the couple did breaking up because they found another guy. Yeah, they did find another guy.
And then she ended up with the guy that she had the baby with. Quit playing.
Exactly. See, that's what I'm saying.
Think some people, they just not. They don't not. It's a couple things. They not thinking, like I said, ahead into the future. And then they're thinking selfishly for themselves. And that has nothing to do with the child. So it's unfair, it's awkward, and it ain't right. But to the inbox question, I'm somewhat understanding the sister because she want to keep it in, but it's like, okay, but now my brother is with my wife, and then then you still gotta explain that to the kid down the line. That's even worse.
Ridiculous. These people. Let me hush.
No, you got to talk. We got to talk about this.
Yeah. So the same question for you, Eric. Does it make it more awkward because it's within a family structure? Would that be more awkward?
I don't know if the issue awkward would be. It's going to be awkward because most people are more deemed to keep something like that quiet because as Nicole and Christine and you have mentioned and said, it's going to come out. Especially depending on particular family values or Christian or otherwise, that information is going to come out. The kid's going to find out. They may say it in their last dying breath. It's going to come out for spiritual reasons as well as natural reasons. And so you hopefully, again, the people involved can be mature to explain their immaturity at that time, maybe, and their maturity now. And then I'll throw something in too.
The question, back to the question. Would it be more or less awkward? That's what I'm trying to get you to answer. Will it be more or less awkward?
For me, not at all.
Okay. Because that was what I wanted to hear on both sides. The gentleman, Kevin, thought it would be more awkward to him because it would be his sister involved. It would be less awkward if he didn't know, like the couple that was next door to him. It was less awkward for him because he didn't know, because he knew them, but it wasn't no relation. But he didn't do it because he already had children, and he thought, I would not be able to give up any child that I had. And his joke, though, was at least not for 3 tax years because he wanted to claim them on his taxes. But he would definitely have to still be connected to any child that he has. And so that's what made it awkward to him. And I'm, wondering, even though it's clear that none of you would participate in that, whether or not there being a family connection made it more or less awkward. And it sounds like for some of you, yes, and for some of you, no.
No, I mean, Marcus, as you're saying, it evolves around the child. I mean, eventually the child's going to want to know, and the child's going to have to be told, so that the child won't be fractured or damaged, and then it's damaging on the parents or the other people's side as well. Mm-hmm. And if this is about just keeping healing and restoration so that things are done the right way, people are going to be hurt. So if the job is to help them heal, then it's something that has to be talked about, no matter how hurtful it is. What I was going to add too is you also have to look at too, when we go to the doctor to get checked out or what have you, I'm sure there's things that they're doing with our sperms or what have you, that eggs that we don't even know what's going on. You know, so
I don't know about that.
We don't.
I don't believe that doctors are
okay.
using us
All right, not a problem.
unbeknownst to
Not a
me.
problem. It would be. It was unbeknownst to Henrietta Lex, but okay. But we'll just move on. Yeah, hey, just say.
I appreciate that commentary. I don't think that doctors, I don't want to go on the record on Love and Stuff and saying
No, I didn't go on a record. I didn't say my professional opinion and documented proof. I made what we would call an opinion or a observation of saying. That's what I said. But we can move.
I appreciate it. And I just
You're
wanted
welcome.
to rebut to it. Not on Love and Stuff.
We're good. We're good.
Not on Love and Stuff. Would Love and Stuff ever say that we believe that doctors are using our sperm unbeknownst to us? And Nicole, you were going to say as a medical professional, you're not. I appreciate it. Thank you for that. Good to know. And so I would, but
Eric, you so funny.
yeah,
I haven't said a word. I just, hey.
That awkwardness, I think people might not have discussions about up front, but that awkwardness is going to be an important discussion that's going to continue to come up, even if it isn't an identity question, because it's roles, right? It's the role of being uncle and father or aunt and mother when it's a close family tie. What would you suggest to our inbox if in our inbox, if he decided to go through with it? How do they work through the roles where he knows that he is the father and the uncle? How do you work through that? Even
He's the father, he's the uncle.
Yeah, even if the identity is not revealed to a 1-year-old, right, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, how do you
if they're gonna hide his real identity, don't give an identity at all. That's how I feel. If you don't all that uncle stuff, that's no. Mm-mm.
And so if he goes through with it, should they recognize him? He should be.
I would say yes, but if in their situation, the way they're saying to do it, if you're not going to label it properly, then don't label that person donated at all. Let them just, be in the win if that's what but they got to decide if they want to still donate or not. And knowing once you donate, you out the picture totally. Are they okay with that?
Yeah, and because he is the brother to this woman.
Exactly.
So how do you what advice would you give for him if he decides to go ahead relative to his role?
He tell him no. I would say don't do it.
And if he decides to do it, Nicole, I got you. But
don't
if he
do
decides to do it, then how would you
if he doesn't, I would tell him to go with what he's comfortable with. If he gonna do it anyway, then they need to make some terms, come up with the terms and stick to it. And but we all know that it's somebody gonna fold and eventually they're gonna open up about the situation. So
okay, all right. And Eric, if he decides if he decides to do it, what would you advise him about role clarification?
Same thing Nicole said. It has to have a conversation. Because it's going to, no matter what goes on, the great thing about what you're saying is it's going to come out now or it's going to come out later. So I'm thinking you would want to try to have that discussion before so that later on, it doesn't build up any molehill or mountain of a more problem and not being overly emotional or dramatic about it. But you still got to have a conversation.
Yeah. Okay. And Christina, anything to add about the role clarity between the two wives and the brother?
I agree with everyone. I'm going to just add that because I'm still on the child side. Adults make decisions a lot of times for their own selfish reasons, and they make decisions sometimes because that's just what they want to do. But the kid doesn't have a say in it. So now I'm thinking, okay, between all three of them, they need to figure out what's best for the child. Should should he be uncle? Should he be dad? Should
Right.
he be bonus dad? There's a many thousand words they're using nowadays that kids are like, oh, okay, yep. So that's my dad, and this is my mom, and this is my mom. How are you going? What would make this child's life less painful, less traumatic, less difficult, less irritating when they go to school, when they have, you know what I'm saying? When they have interactions with their friends, it's like, oh, is that your dad? Yep, and that's my mom, and that's my mom. Because nowadays, people are combining their families. You know, the husband and the wife, and then their baby's mom or their child's mother is now with them too. Not like that, but they're all a big family now. That's a thing now. So make it where everybody is the family. Everybody contributed, so you might as well put it out there that way. Why make the child's life so dang on hard and keep it all a secret because of your own selfishness? First of all, you shouldn't be doing it. I'm taking a Christian point on it. Shouldn't even be happening. But since it does happen. I'm on the child side while they at school and they getting teased because mama is two mamas and an uncle in the bleachers. He can say, no, he's really my dad. And that's my mom, and then that's my mom too. And that's fine, because you know what? Nowadays they doing that, unfortunately, but they are. And so make the identity out there. Just put it out there.
How old are these people?
So they are early 30s.
So when they break up, where the baby going? Who the baby going with?
So I would imagine, just like if you and I were married and we broke up, the baby's going somewhere, right?
That's what I would also tell him to consider.
Yeah.
The
But I
baby's
had a similar situation, I told you, at the bank of the credit union, and they came in, two women, they were getting divorced. One wanted off the account. And then the other girl, the one that had the baby, the father was the ex-boyfriend. He's in the child's life also. He's watching the kid, he's taking the kid, haircuts. And so now the baby, they're like, no, we all still together, but we legally not married and we not dating, but we're all still living together. We're all in the child's life. So I don't know if that's good or not, because they're actually thinking about the child. Like, they're not breaking the family up, even though they're not together. But at the same time, that's just so weird, that now you're divorced. That's just like, okay, I divorced my husband, and now we still gonna live together though, because of the child. We're still gonna keep the same last name because of the child in school. So some people do that in a man and wife relationship. They'll still stay together in spite of, just to benefit the child. I don't know how great that is. But to me, like, let the child know that this particular mom and dad and mom didn't work out, and let them share the parents. The parents should always be the hero to the child, period. I'm done.
I think you always got to think about, again, it's the forethought of what could happen to this child as it relates to his or her identity down the road.
Right.
And you're right. A lot of times we make adult decisions without thinking about how it might impact children, where we think that we're being an ambassador of goodwill. That's kind of how Kevin might have characterized it earlier. Without regard to how you think or what you think, because we know there are folks in Love and Stuff that are Christian, and there are folks in Love and Stuff that don't practice faith. I think whenever you're thinking about children, bringing them into this world, you got to think about that relationship that brings them into this world as well. Whether you regard it as a transaction or an action or an expression of your love, that's going to affect the child's identity and psyche about who he or she is. And people probably don't think about that part of it, especially if you're going into surrogacy as a business, because there are people that are in surrogacy as a business. Even today in 2020, there are African-American people that are in surrogacy as a business. And so you got to think about, for you, it's a transaction, but for that child, it's his or her identity. So it's something that you have to think about. Yeah. Well, it's 10:06. I'm so glad that all three of you stopped by, four of you, because Kevin was here earlier. Thank
Stuff.
you, Alwyn. Thank you, Eric Lampkin. Thank you, Christina
You
Smith, Kevin Tates, on this
There we
controversial.
go.
My pleasure.
But Christine,
nice.
I got my laugh on for tonight. Thank you, Eric.
you're welcome.
I know. Look, we used to deal with this for years.
All right.
How do I get out?
Those are our wonderful guests who came on. Thank you all 4 of you. Kevin Tates, Christina Smith, Nicole Baldwin, and Eric Lampkin. Spirited discussion and opinions, and we welcome all of those here in Love and Stuff. And to our inbox topic as we wrap up, indeed, people get to make their decisions. And not everybody that's making a decision is a person of faith. And in Love and Stuff, we understand that. As a matter of fact, we respect it. We respect that faith is something that you come into. You have a measure of faith, I believe, but it's something that you grow the capacity for, much like love. Love is something that you grow the capacity for. And when you are thinking about things that involve love, and normally childbearing, child making is something that's born out of love, not out of benevolence necessarily, and not even out of hire or transaction, but typically out of love. But in this world, there are same-sex marriages and relationships where they desire to have children. And if you decide to go down that road, and there are many here tonight and others that would encourage you not to go down that road. But if you decide to go down that road, more than thinking about yourselves and more than thinking about each other, think about that child and think about that child's identity and that child's ability to navigate his or her way in this world, maybe learning that he or she was born out of a transaction. Now, we know in this world, there are many children that are born out of a transaction, out of a night of casualty. Some, unfortunately, are born out of molestation and rapes and acts of great physical violence against women. But this is a planned act, very different than many of those other acts. And I'm just saying, if you're planning an act, give some forethought to what may happen as a result of that action. And so I don't say to the inbox, do this or don't do this for your sister. Do this or don't do this based on what I believe. It has got to be a place that you arrive in your own love and faith belief. But hear this, think about that child. And that child may come at age 10, age 15, or as Christina Smith said, age 30, looking for answers about their genealogy and about their history, their medical history. Or they may just come to find out, where is that dad where I have 2 moms, or where's that mom where I have 2 dads, to seek out their identity. And if you feel that you will be in a place and space and time to give them the answer that this was an act of goodwill, this was an act of a transaction, it was not an act of love, be willing to understand what that impact might be to some child, teenager, young adult, or adult who is trying to resolve and gain understanding about his or her identity. What an interesting topic here on Love and Stuff. Thank you so much for coming. All of you that have come through the room. It was so much conversation happening. I didn't get to check back with the room Yvette Baldwin, thank you so much for coming, checking out your sister. Karen Wilson joined us, Danielle Scott, Christopher Jordan, Michael Flanoyle, some of our great Love and Stuff community folks. Sorry that I didn't see you when you were coming in. Linda Phillips, Kim Wilson, thank you so much. Eric Powell, thank you all so much for coming through to Love and Stuff. Hope you will watch it from the beginning. We had Christina Smith, Nicole Baldwin, Eric Lampkin, Kevin Tates talking about a very spirited, interesting discussion, talking about sperm donation, surrogacy, and whether or not in some regards it could be regarded for some as an indecent proposal. We in no wise want to cast a bad light to anyone who is sharing with us in the inbox around their life situations. It's easy for us to sit back in a comfortable seat and say what we would and wouldn't do when we haven't been faced with situations and circumstances. But what we do want to do is give you perspectives that might make you think just a little differently than the decisions that maybe you are making or that you may have arrived at. And so from our inbox is a gentleman who has been asked by his sister and her same-sex partner to father their child, to artificially inseminate, not his sister, but his sister's partner. And he's feeling like it's a no, in his words, quote unquote, and just broaching it with the Love and Stuff community and asking around different guys. I had a chance to talk with Kevin Tate, who said, I've had that situation happen to me. His next door neighbors, who were same-sex couple, asked him to traditionally father a child with one of them. And he turned it down because he had 2 young children, he says, and he would want to be able to have an attachment to that child. He said that if he had no children, he might have thought of it differently. And now that his children are 18 and 19 or 19 and 20, that he might give some thought to it, that it might be his way of making a contribution to a couple who, for their reasons, have decided to be together and are unable to have children. And so he thought at that time, 18 or 19 years ago, because he had 2 young children, he knew the importance, and being the custodial dad, he knew the importance of staying connected to his children, and so that he could not bring himself to do it. So he shared from his insights about his situation. So you want to watch that from the beginning. And then we had a lot of spirited discussion and dialogue about the overall concept. And I understand many that are in Christendom, especially, would have some trouble fathoming themselves in the situation. But that's what empathy is about. And I would just say to those in the Christian community, sometimes it's good to be able to envision yourself in someone else's shoes, even though you would not put those moccasins on yourself. So having said that, I think we've had a great show. I hope you will click share, tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to keep the discussion going in the comments. Chantel Michelle Jackson has joined us as well. Thank you all for joining us. If you haven't joined the Gratefulness Journey, we will drop that in the comments so that you can join us on the Gratefulness Journey. Stop by the Love and Stuff page. If you haven't stopped by there, there are plenty of opportunities to go along the journey with us through Love and Stuff gear, through many of the Love and Stuff connections, and also to sign up for the Love and Stuff dating game, which we've been working on. We still have new people signing up. We just need more people so that we can offer everybody some robust opportunities for the speed dating component of it, which will be in a Zoom room, you guessed it. And so you get to meet people from around the world if you put in your survey that you're interested in different ethnicities and different nationalities. You'll have the opportunity to meet men and women from around the world who are all looking for love and who are somewhat tired of looking for love in all the wrong places. And we're looking for those of you that are also married, because you'll have a chance to come into some of the Zoom rooms and offer some of your best tips that have worked in your relationships to help to keep them live and savvy and going, that you'll be able to provide the singles some information as well. So we're looking forward to all of you participating. Thank you so much. Have a great night. To those of you that are on YouTube, Twitch channel, those of you that are on Facebook, on the Marcus Our Homes page or Love and Stuff, have a grateful evening.